JQ Crafty here with another project. I almost said layout. Another project for Off the Board with pineapple papers, and I'm going to do a technique today. You saw a bigger version. I have a little picture-in-picture there of the technique. So I have this pinned on my Pinterest board, and I've always wanted to try it, and I figured since I'm doing cards this month, it'd be a good time to try it on a smaller scale because I wasn't sure how it would work. So basically you make bubbles with it, according to the pin that I found, you do it with food dye and bubble solution. I wanted to make sure it was going to be archival safe, so I didn't know if food dye would work very well, so I figured I would try it out with inks. So I'm doing my best here. You can see a strip of one of the papers that I'm going to use to make a few cards, and I figured why not try this out on a few cards, and we'll see how it goes. So I'm trying to pick out my colors. I have some distressed oxide inks, and then I have some cheapy ones that I got in like the dollar crafty section at my local Joann's, and I only have a few distressed oxides. I don't have a ton, so it turns out most of the ones that I feel like go better with those papers and the colors that are in them are the cheapy ones. So here I'm just trying to figure out what colors of inks I want to use. But so what I read about this technique is you do food dye, or basically, yeah, like if you were doing frosting or something. So food dye and then bubble solution. Have a bottle of bubbles, and you basically mix them together and then use a straw or like a bubble wand and blow bubbles onto your paper, and they pop and they make this. So I'm gonna try it out. So I was trying to figure out the best way to get my ink in my little wells, just because I wanted to make sure it all stayed, because I was going to mix a few different colors. So I tried my daubers at first. That didn't seem to really be working, so I just started squishing the corner of the inks into the wells, and that seemed to work better to actually get some ink in there. And I didn't know how much to use and how much would be too much or not enough, so I'm just kind of guessing. I think if you had the re-inkers, that would work really, really well, because then you could just put a couple drops and then a little bit of bubble solution. So here I am, just getting some bubble solution. I only did 2 colors at first because I wanted to see if it even would mix. And as you can see, after I poured the bubbles in, even you can tell that the color changed right away. It picked up that ink, and I thought it was looking pretty good. So I'm just mixing them. I just grabbed a random straw, mixing them together. Seems to be working well, so I'm going to do a few more colors. Had to open those ones. I hadn't opened them yet. I got out my little spatula to see if maybe like squishing, the ink like pad itself and then wiping it into the wells would work. All sorts of different ways. I wasn't really sure how to go about that, but this seemed to work pretty good. So now that I did the ink on the side, you can tell like when I poured it in, especially like on that red one and the other ones around the edge. The green that I had done with the distressed oxide wasn't quite the green that I had hoped it would be, so I'm going to stir with my little spatula. See how it changes color. And overall, I felt like, yeah, this is working well. I think this is going to work really good. I really liked the idea of the rainbow colors. So I do I do 4 cards? Yeah, 4 cards. I do one with a scattering of the bubbles, and then I do one where it's just the blues and greens, and then I do another one where it's the red and purple, and then I do another one with a rainbow gradient, or like rainbow order. I'm just getting them mixed up, making sure I have enough ink in there, adding some more to a couple of them. It was hard to figure out like a ratio mixing those two greens because they weren't quite the green I wanted. I guess I could have cut some of this out, but all right, now we're gonna start. So dip it in and blow bubbles, and look at that. I think it's working fantastic. Not as dark a colors as I had hoped for, but that was just trying to figure out, I think that's just figuring out like how much ink to use. I'm sure you could use, I wonder if you could use shimmers or any paints as well. That might be something to try. Like I said, the alcohol reinkers, and then obviously there's always food coloring you could use too, but I thought with it being on cards and stuff, I didn't know how food coloring, I wasn't sure. But I figured I would use what I had instead of using my kitchen supplies. So there you go, there's my one random one. So I set them aside to dry, and I came back, and see, they're a lot, after they dried, they're paler than I had hoped, but you can still tell. So now I'm just gonna make a few fun cards with them really quick. This is the rainbow gradient one, so I wanted the rainbow to kind of match up on the stripe. But the cards are relatively simple. Again, I found this one pin that has basically use 2 strips of paper, and you can do it 4 or 5 different ways just by where you're placing them on the page. So very simple, is more the technique that I wanted to try out. So I think you could try different ways to dye the bubble mixture. If anybody decides to try this, I'd like to see how your stuff comes out. But yeah, I'm just gonna make 4 different cards and use my Tim Holtz stamping platform that I just got and I had in my haul video, along with a few new stamps, and that's about it. So I'm gonna leave you here with some beautiful music to watch the rest, and there'll be some close-ups at the end. Comment below with if you like it or if you're gonna try it. Otherwise, yeah, thanks and enjoy. Bye.
you.